Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you so much for joining us for another insightful and truly impactful conversation. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of getting education just right. Education in the high school system, education where teachers and principal, the administrators and students are all aligned with the singular purpose of getting our future just right. Goldilocks is reminding us how in any situation, including in education, how can we show up just right? We need to show up in a way that we are not too hard or not too soft. We need to be not too hot, not too cold. How do we show up in the right temperament, in the right mindset, so that we get this just right? Because education, after all, is setting the stage for the individual, community, and the entire human society, what the future holds. And getting it right is so important, not just for the principal or the teacher or the student. We all have a shared responsibility in getting it right, because even the adults who are working in the workplace, we're going to be retired, and the young ones in school are going to be running the world, running the businesses, providing services in our own interest. We need to get this just right. And to have this conversation with me is Principal Katie Jones from Mopan Technical High School, all the way from Bankay, Belize. Principal Katie, welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks.
Thank you, Dr. Henry, for this opportunity. Thank you for having me today and for us having this conversation.
We have known each other and we've been working together, so I am so excited to have your insights and your perspective shared in this podcast. So let's take a step back and Principal Katie, talk about what got you motivated to become first an educator, a teacher, and then grow into the role of a principal.
Well, I have parents who are educators, retired educators. So I liked what I saw and what I heard when they came home, and they spoke about the kids that they dealt with during the day, and all that they spoke about teaching. And so I just felt that, that was my calling from when I was very young. And that is what got me into education. And then as a principal, it's not something that I had in mind to ever become a principal, because I'm very happy being in the class. That I believe is what I really like the most, being in the class with the students. But as in becoming principal, it was an opportunity that arose and I took it. And here I am, being the principal of Mopan Technical High School.
Beautiful. And I know even as a principal, you're very committed to empowering and developing the teachers so that teachers can get into the classroom and be current and relevant and the best version of themselves for the students. Talk to us a little bit about how that journey is coming along, because not all teachers are going to embrace different perspectives easily, but you have a way of bringing them along.
I believe that as educators, we impact the lives of our students quite dramatically, even though we might not be aware of that in what we say, how we act. All of these things impact our students. And it is my belief that teachers and educators and administrators in education, we need to be able to change, and we need to be able to shift our perspective. And we need to begin with ourselves as a human being, as a person, as a woman, as a wife, as whatever our role is. We need to be able to deal with ourselves, and we need to be compassionate and empathetic with ourselves for us to be able to bring that to our profession and to our students. So I believe it is very important for me as an administrator to do that with the teachers. I know change is difficult for many people, but we need to start. It's like our motto says, caminando se abre caminos, opening the pathways. We open pathways. And if I don't take the first step, then we might never know where we can go and what pathways we can open, not only for our students, but for our teachers as well.
I love hearing you talk about it because you and I got involved in how you wanted to develop your teachers, right? And to
Yeah.
me, that was so refreshing because while you're not in the classroom, you're developing and transforming and expanding the mindset of people going into the classroom. So while still you're a principal, you're also a teacher. You're learning, you're transforming yourself, and you're transforming the other teachers. So you're truly creating a layered approach to education. And how are the teachers receiving it?
Like I said, change is difficult for some people, and I have gotten to understand that. Um, but I see that there is good reception from several teachers who, they're willing to do differently and work together. And in working together, it means that, we're open to trainings and to sessions that can help us do better, firstly as the person that we are, and then professionally. So I have great hopes that as we move along throughout my tenure over at Mupan Technical High School, that we're able to have everyone join in this process of change.
Beautiful. I cannot wait to see the transformation because I live in the community, I get to experience it. And I have been a part of it already. And I am actually energized to see the passion and the commitment every one of them brings in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody reacts and thinks differently, and that's a good thing. But their heart and their commitment is there. And so
Yes, it
that is
is.
what I love to watch you enhance because you have a way of bringing together. You also have male teachers and female teachers. As always around the world, there are more female teachers than males. How are you seeing the men and the women educators interact? And what is the richness of having both genders in the school together? What are they learning from each other?
We get different perspectives about issues. I like to consult with teachers, not only in my high school, but with other mentors who've been teachers, for both male and female. And I find that I learn a lot, and it gives me a different perspective. I always say that I have a very great team at Mopan Technical High School, a very passionate team, that although we might have our differences of opinions, we find that at the end we all pull and push each other, and to achieve our goal, because I see that passion in my teachers, um, the willingness to assist our students, taking out money from their pockets to assist our students, and that is a group effort. It's both our male and female teachers, but what I like is the diversity of ideas, and the the perspective that some of the teachers bring that make me think, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Mhm.
Or, as a woman, I hadn't thought of it that way, like how a man is
Mhm.
perceiving the situation, or the ideas that he brings to this situation. So I believe it's very important to have that balance of
Mhm.
both male and female. It is very important because we are teaching both male and female students as well.
Absolutely. And you bring up such a good point, right? The boys in the classroom need a male role model just as much as the girls in the classroom need a female role model. And they also need to see how the other gender shows up in their power, in their responsibility, in their place of nurturing and being empathetic, right? So I love what you're saying. As we build on this, as you grow into your role as a principal, what are some of the challenges you're facing and what does help look like for you?
It's been a challenge at the personal level because of um, the way I see things and the way I do things. I've come to a point in which I've learned to know that, not like I've said before, change is difficult for many. I believe I adapt quite easily to change, but I've tried to be more empathetic towards teachers and towards students. But I am very blessed that I have the help of many people, starting with my family. I have their assistance, I have their help, their understanding, because this job can consume me. And I know it consumes other administrators, but I have their assistance, I have their help and support, and I have that from many other persons in my community and with friends, and even at school. I have that support. I believe I have that support from many. And so that is what keeps me going with all the challenges that I have faced, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. It takes a whole lot of a shift in mindset as to how to deal with certain situations, deal with certain people. So it's taken a lot of mind shift in my personal life, which I believe is good. It has made me a bit more patient, a bit more understanding. So I give thanks to God that, I've had this opportunity to grow.
You bring up such an important element of being an educator, because being an educator and an administrator of education, your work doesn't end when your day is over, right? Your students are going through whatever they're going through 24/7. They're reaching out. Teachers are trying to help them. Teachers are reaching out to you. You have multiple layers of situations to take care of in school. So when you come home, your work is not over. Therefore, having the right support system at home is so important. Talk to us about how a supportive marriage and understanding partner can help, or the lack thereof can actually harm both work and family, because both will suffer.
Yes. I believe I'm blessed in that my husband was in education for so many years, so he understands the whole aspect of education and how it can consume us, even into our personal lives. But I will say that I do have a very supportive husband who, if I work late into the night, 8 night into 9 in the night, he's he's very understanding about that, and he'd be very supportive about it. And I believe that he also, because he worked in the discipline area where he was at his previous school, he also brings ideas to me, that perspective that, oh, well, I didn't think of this, or I didn't see it this way. So he does give me that support in that way. And I believe it is very important to have a very supportive partner, because this job is really consuming in all ways, emotionally and physically. And so if we don't have that partner, that supportive partner, then it can be an added stress to one. I mean, having to come home and deal with every other responsibility at home. And I can say that in that aspect, I really appreciate that I have a wonderful husband who he helps in the cooking and whatever other chores at home that I don't have to really worry about after a long day at work.
And that is very unusual, right, for Belize, because the male and female gender roles are so set in the social structure. It is so unusual, but I'm so happy for you. But it is also a reminder for men and women. It's not about the gender roles, it's about how we create a partnership, how we collaborate, and how we make home a peaceful place of engagement, so that we can show up in all aspects of our life and be present and be whole. So I'm so happy for you. I am looking forward to someday meeting this wonderful man. But you've also had an amazing role model in your father. I met your father first, right? And your
Yes.
mom and dad are truly people the community looks up to. and the community relies on advice for. So you come from a family that actually has occupied this place of responsibility for the greater good. What is your dream for Mopan Technical High School and in large for Belize itself? Because there's so much potential.
You use a keyword there that I always use as well. We have so much potential over at Mopan Technical High School. I am every day I wake up happy going to school. Despite all the challenges, I'm always, very passionate about going because, dreams are many, the goals are many, but I know it's going to take some time to get to where we want to be at. Like, for example, being self-sustainable. We're a vocational technical school. And so we have the talent from our students and teachers. We have the land, and we're going into finding means and ways in which our agriculture area, our business, our sciences, we're going to improve. We're going to do better. We're going to get needed resources. We're going to do all our best to ensure that our plans come to fruition, because our motivation should always be empowering our students. And so all the goals and all the plans and all the dreams should be geared towards empowering our students, because in empowering our students and giving them and allowing them to develop certain skills, then they will be able to, as we say, become productive citizens of our country. And they will, at some point, impact what happens in our country. So we want to ensure that when they leave Mopan Technical High School, they're equipped with the knowledge and the skills, especially if they cannot continue higher education, which by no means that they cannot be successful. That they're able to, in whatever profession or trade that they take on, that they're able to in some way live out also our values of discipline and perseverance and achievement. There are so many dreams that we have for Mopan Tech, but I've learned that I need to be patient. It won't happen from one day to the next. It's going to take some time, but it will happen.
Certainly, it is definitely a journey, but it is a shared journey. And one of the things you're good at is identifying people in the community and in the surrounding areas and bringing them in and making them part of the process. I'm one of those people, right? I don't live in Banque, but I love what you're doing. I love your mission. I love the human that you are. And so here we are doing things at Mopan Technical School. And so as I get engaged, I'm going to be bringing other people in. We are going to make a shared commitment, because as I look at it, when a school succeeds, the community succeeds. And when the community succeeds, society succeeds. And Banque is a unique community as such, because Belize is in the path of southern migration towards the US border. And when immigrants from troubled countries come, first they come to Belize. And if they have an opportunity to live here and start a life here, they do. United States and Canada are helping invest in a stable Belize, because the only way we're going to help people get a good life is to make them feel comfortable where they are and make them successful where they are. So Mopan Technical High School actually has bilingual students of immigrant parents, and some of the challenges are very unique, right?
Yes.
And how are you dealing with that? Because we live in a world where migration and immigrants and foreigners are not always embraced. And I'm going to say this as an American citizen. Americans refer to themselves as expats when they are outside. But when other people come into our country, we call them immigrants. We never call ourselves immigrants. I am an immigrant in Belize, but we refer to ourselves as we're expats living in Belize. So we even change language to make ourselves feel better and everybody else is less than, right? So that's how the world is. But in spite of it, Belize has figured out how to welcome outsiders and give them a start. Talk to us a little bit about the value and the strength of Mopan Technical School in serving that transition population and giving them a home alongside the Belizeans.
Like I said previously, I have a very great team of teachers and support staff at our school. And so for us, it's so far I haven't seen it as a challenge or as any trouble with us embracing those from other countries, because many of them have practically grown here. They were born someplace else, but have grown here. They're part of our community of Mopantec and of our larger community of Benqueviejo or whatever other area they're coming from. And so they're easily, embraced into our community. And we do our very best to assist these students, whether it's economically or otherwise. But I have so many teachers who are willing to, as we say, go the extra mile in assisting our students, um, especially knowing what their issues are, what they're facing. We really look out for them, and I don't think there is any student who might say, well, they feel left out because they're coming from a different country. We do embrace everyone who comes to our school. We have from other Central American countries. We do have from one from Canada. And so it's, embracing everyone. That's who we are as Mopaneros. We're people who are welcoming and caring to all those whom we need to deal with in our school.
I love that about you, your community, your school. And I am super excited to see where you're going to take this. And
Mm-hmm.
as we continue to talk, I would love to open this up for conversation with our live audience before we bring this to a close. So go ahead, Robin. Any thoughts, any questions?
Yeah, I love this entire topic. Helping teachers, helping students. I have just a profound respect and admiration for teachers, because I'm a mother of 3 daughters, and we very quickly learned the power of teachers in our children's lives. And what's coming to mind is you're facing various avenues of change. Being a new principal, your family, this is something new for them. And I heard this kind of comparison that when people hear the word cat, some people might think of a cute little kitten, they're playing and petting it. And other people, when they hear the word cat, they think of where this, cat kind of scratched them and scared them. And so the word cat is going to evoke different emotions and different behavioral strategies within people. But when we hear the word change, some people think, oh, this is a great opportunity to make things better. Other people think, oh, I hate change. I just want everything to stay the same. And so the fact that you're facing change on multiple levels, how have you thought of, either overtly or just doing it because it comes naturally to you, thought of how can we make change a catalyst for growth? In fact, I did a presentation, change is a catalyst for growth. How can you think of change as, okay, change can be scary, change can be hard, but also it can be an opportunity to make things better. And can we work through the difficulty to then get on the other side where things are better?
Change is definitely, it gives us an opportunity for growth, like you mentioned, but we have to set the background. We have to set the base for people to want to change and to see that this change is going to be for the betterment, not only for the school but for themselves as persons. And so it has been challenging for me and a little bit stressful sometimes, because I've had to also change my perspective about things. But at the end, when I'm thinking about school and the changes, the first question or the first thought that comes to my mind is, how is this going to help my students? Is this going to help my students? The base for me is, how will it impact my students? And if it's going to impact my students in a positive way, then even though I might have a difficult time digesting or agreeing to something, I change my mindset and say, okay, this is not about me as a principal. This is not about me as Kathy. This is not about me as a teacher, but it's about my students. And I hope and I wish that all teachers, not only at Mopantec, but in all other schools, think about it that way. How is it going to impact my students? How is going to affect my students? Because as educators, that should be our guide. The impact is going to have on our students. And if it's for the positive, well then, if I need to change, let me change how I do things. Let me change what I'm thinking. Because as a teacher, my role and my goal is for the change in the lives of my students.
That's beautiful.
That
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
so profound, Principal Katie. And Robin, thank you for that deeply insightful question. And you're so right, Principal Kathy. Change doesn't happen until we first change our mindsets. And I love how you anchor everything on the impact. As an educator, the goal is impact, the goal is transformation. What I tell myself as an educator and a change maker every day is if I don't break a few eggs, I can't make an omelet. So how do I go about breaking my mindset, my patterns, and show up differently so that I can relate? And by relating differently, I'm taking perspective, I am growing, and then I'm leading by example, right? So I am joy-filled to see how you are doing this, and it doesn't come easy. And you're not shy about sharing how challenging it is so that other people understand it is challenging too. So we're all going through this change, and if our ultimate vision of impact is the same, then we are driven by that common cause. So as I bring this to a close, what words of wisdom do you have for other principals and teachers around the world in this unified mission of a lasting positive impact and letting that drive who you become every day?
What I've learned over this year and a few months that I've been principal is build relationship with students. That is very important because in building relationship with students, they open up and you get to know. I've gotten to know about their stories, and it makes it easier when I, as a principal, have to deal with them because of misbehavior, and it makes it easier to deal with them and to call their attention because you have built that relationship. So as a principal and as a teacher, I say build relationship with your students and be firm but loving. My dad always says that be firm but loving because kids need structure as well. As principals or anybody in administrator, always also think when you were a teacher or think as a teacher, don't forget that you were a teacher. There are many times that I sit and I think, okay, when I was a teacher, did I like when my principal did this, or did I like when she or he did not do this? And so I try to keep that in mind as well. How would it impact my teachers? Because they're an essential component as well. So it's the bottom line is the students, yes, but then we have our teachers we need to think about. Though sometimes because we have to follow regulations and rules, there is some rigidity in what we can do or should do. There's some parameters we need to work within. But even through that, how can I best, as an administrator, help my teachers, whether it's their personal lives or professionally? I always try to keep that in mind. And I found that the mentors that I have who've been principals or are principals are people who think about their teachers as well and think about their students as well. It's not only about being in an office and sitting there and giving out orders and what's not, but it's about forming those relationships. Yes, it can be a bit difficult sometimes because of the overload of work that we have, but it's important that we take some time to go and, even if to speak to one student, go out, speak with that student, talk to them. It has an impact on their lives, and I've learned that as a principal. The many things that I've learned about my students just by sitting and talking with them. Those are my words of wisdom. And always, for me at least, go to God, pray, seek assistance. We cannot do it alone. We need that support. We're not superwomen or supermen, although we might think that way, but always seek that assistance. Always as well take time to rest. And I'm learning to do that, to rest and to relax and to say, okay, up to 5 o'clock, that's my limit. As much as I love my school, I have to also take time for myself.
Those are important and necessary to follow, right? Thinking and talking is one thing, actually following is another. And that itself is change. That itself is a journey. And thank you so much for making time this morning to talk about this, to represent Mopan Technical High School, to represent the country of Belize we both love. And I cannot wait for our you hear your message and everybody start thinking about how can we think of impact, because ultimately the students are somebody's children. So society and families have the same responsibility in raising children in an impactful way, that they become responsible adults for the world we live in. So we're all connected in this. And that is the beauty of stepping in and supporting one another, because this is about our children and our future. Whether the children we're talking about is our flesh and blood or not is immaterial, because they are the children in our community. They are our future, because we're going to live in that environment. And I am so grateful for what you do, for what Mopan Technical High School and all the teachers, all of you do together, and the families of the children supportively making this happen. And to our audience out there, keep looking for ways to engage with your school system. Be a part of that impact, because whether we realize it or not, the impact we are creating is what's going to sustain each of our lives, not just today, for as long as we're on this earth, right? So let's come together and make education and supporting educators to build an impactful future one of our missions. And let's go out there and make it happen.